Hello guys, welcome back to Code 4 and today we'll be seeing about list and tuple. So list and tuples are basically just arrays in Python. So if you have seen the pseudocode video about arrays, you would know about this. Since we don't have something called as arrays in Python, we use lists and tuples in Python. So for those who doesn't know what an array is or what a list and tuple is, I'll just tell you in a very brief way. So lists and tuples are just a data structure which is used to store multiple data in a single variable. Since I'm using list and tuple together, it doesn't mean both are the same. They both share a big difference. Lists are actually mutable, but tuples are immutable. And I will tell you what it actually means in this video, but before that I will just tell you the syntax of creating the list and a tuple. So for a list, you define a list by using square brackets. You open a square bracket and close with a square bracket, and all the elements inside it should be separated by a comma. And the elements can be of any data type. It doesn't necessarily need to be of a string. And the tuples is the same, but the only difference is you define a tuple by opening a bracket and you end it by closing a bracket. And to access the first element of the list or a tuple, you use 0. So I'll just show you. If you need to access the first element in the list, you use 0. So it will give you the output Peter. And if you need to access the second element, you add 1 here. And if you need to access the third element, you need to write 2 here. And the same applies for the tuple 2. Sorry, I haven't put in caps. Tuple. So yes, see, that's it. So I'll just now explain you what the mutable and immutable means. So in list, if I need to change or modify the element walking to running, so let me just show it. So what is happening here is this: I'm changing the element walking to running here, and it has successfully changed in the list. But if I try to do this in the tuple, what happens is you will see an error. Oh, sorry, I don't know what is happening now. Yes, if I do tuple, yes. Let me just run it now, and you'll see an error. Yeah. So what is this error? Tuple object does not support item assignment. So yes, tuple does not allow you to modify an element. So in simple terms, tuple is read only, but list are read and write. In a tuple, once a tuple is created with its elements, you can only read the elements and access these elements. You cannot modify the tuple at any cost. You cannot modify the tuple at all. It's impossible. But lists are not like that. You can modify the elements, you can add elements, you can remove elements, and do whatever you want. But tuples are read only. You cannot do any such operations in a tuple data structure. So I guess you have understood what is the difference between a list and a tuple. So if you talk about tuple, there aren't many built-in functions in it to cover in this beginner video. So let me just talk about list and its built-in operations that will be useful for us. So the first function that can be done on a list is the len function. So to find the number of elements in a list, we use the len function which will return us the number of elements. So in this case, there are one, two, three, which is Peter is walking. There are three elements. And let's see if it returns three. Yes, it returns three. I have already told you before on how to access elements in a list and a tuple, but I will just tell you again if you're not clear with it. So the index of the first element in the list will be 0, and the index of the second element will be 1, and the index of the last element, or in this case the last element, is in the index 2. So let me just print list 0. It gives Peter. So this is not the only way to access list. What if you need to access list from the reverse order? Can we use negative numbers? Yes, you can. If you use -1, this will return walking. And if you use -2, this will return is, which is the second last element. If you use -3, it will return the third last element. In this case, it is the first element. So when you come from the backward side of the list, this element, this last element will be -1 is, the second last element will be -2, this third last element, or the first element will be -3. But when you come from left to right, if you go from this order, the Peter, the first element will have an index of 0, the second element will have an index of 1, the third element will have an index of 2. So what happens if you give 4? There aren't, maybe even 3 is enough. There are 3 elements in the list, but the index of the last element is 2. So this should be returning an error, which is list is in out of range. Yeah, see, list index out of range. So this is basically about accessing elements in a list. So what if you need to add an element into a list? We'll see it. So to add an element to a list, you use the function called append. So it goes like this. First you write the list, which is the variable of the list data structure, which is in this case list, dot append, and the next element that you want to add. In this case, I am going to use fast. So adding this fast will result something like this. Peter is walking fast. The element fast has been added. And if I am trying to add something like fast, Peter is walking fast, and see, it just keeps on adding. So what if you need to add an element in between, like Peter is walking, like say Peter is walking very fast. So if you need to add very here, so you have to use the function called as insert. So the append function will only be adding the elements to the last, but insert you can actually change. So index is going to be 3, 3 comma, I'm going to very. So why I'm choosing 3? Peter is 0, is 1, walking is 2, and I want this very at the index 3. So this index 3 comma, this very is the element that I need to add at that index. If I run this, you can clearly see Peter is walking very fast. And again I'm saying using the append function will only append to the last. And steady, steady, steady. See here, Peter is walking very fast and steady. I know it doesn't make any sense, but still I'm just showing one example. So this is about adding elements to a list. So what if I need to remove an element? And I'll show you that too. So to remove elements from a list, you use the function called as remove. So this goes like this. First, the variable name of the list data structure, which is list dot the function name. In this case, we are calling the function remove. So list dot remove, and for and inside this remove function you need to enter the element name which you need to remove. So in this case I am trying to remove this very from this list. So if I give like this and I running wait, if I run this you will see yes, list dot remove very. So here I am printing the list, the very has disappeared. So that means the very has been removed from the list. So what if I doesn't know the element in the list, but I only know the index of that particular element in the list? I need to remove the element from it. So in that case, I need to remove the element with the index. So in that case, I'll be using the function called pop. So I need to remove fast. So maybe I will remove something like fast from it. So fast has an index of 3. So if I give 3 list dot pop 3, this will give us, so this pop function will actually return the variable that it has popped to. So this is one thing, but remove will just remove the the particular element from the list, but the pop will actually remove the element from the list from in that index and will return the removed value again to you. So this is the updated list after running this code. So you can see here the very has been disappeared. See, sorry, the fast has been disappeared. So if you did know the element's value and you need to remove that value from that list, you can use the function remove. But if you only know the index of the element and you need to remove the element by using the index, then you will use the function pop. So this is all about list and tuple. I have said you how to find the number of elements in a list, accessing elements in a list, adding elements to a list, and removing elements from a list. Hope you have understood all the concepts in this video. If you have any doubts, please feel free to comment in the comment section. Thank you.